razzle dazzle, we're the best. No, the courts aren't on your side, but they're not on the tenant side either. Jen, like, you are independently wealthy when you are naked. I am over treating property management the same as real estate sales. I guess I'll lead the witness. I think it's freaking scammy. Welcome to Hold It with PM Jen, the show for real estate investors who buy and hold forever and ever. Amen. Welcome to Hold It with PM Jen, the show for investors who buy and hold forever and ever. Today, I'm so excited to talk with Stacy Salier. Listen, I told you in the trailer for this season, one of the things that's been happening with me since season 1 is I've been ratcheting down my focus, and I've kind of declared that I am the thought leader for buy and hold investing for millennial women. And since I've done that, I've been attracting more people to me that have similar goals. And one of them is Stacy Salier. She's got a really interesting story, you guys. She started managing properties in 2004, the same exact year as me. She launched her own company in 2016 from her living room as a single mother. Scaled that company, worked incredibly hard to grow that company in a unique way. And we might touch on that, but there's so much more interesting stuff about Stacy, quite honestly. And if you Google Stacy in the podcast apps, you'll see her talk about that story in a lot more detail. If you're interested in her scaling journey and how she sold out, that is absolutely out there. But then she took the next step, sold that company in 2022 to Pure, and then took on a role with them as an acquisitions person. So she was on the acquisitions team reviewing hundreds of PM properties across this country, which gave her a really unique insight into how entrepreneurs are running these kinds of businesses across the United States. So now in 2025, she's running Property Management Strategist, her consulting company where she's helping business owners, especially women, build property management companies that become your greatest asset. They're not just a place to work. They protect your peace and let you lead on your terms. And if you heard those last couple of clauses, you're like, well, it's very clear we're not talking to a man about consulting here today. Isn't that right, Stacy? Welcome so much to Hold It with PM Jen.
Thank you so much. I love that introduction. I feel like you should do my marketing videos for me. I was like, wow, that sounds amazing.
Well, wait until you hear this part. So this is the part why I'm really excited to talk to Stacy, is because we both are unapologetic, have a foul fucking mouth, and we have recently in our careers shifted our focus to not just helping women, but having a different flair and occupying that void in this. And so I'm so excited to chat with her today. But first, holders, you need to know about Stacy. So I want Stacy, you to share with us, how did you get started in property management? And then take us into like starting your own business. Like, what was that about, the goal you had?
Yeah. Okay. So I, like many others, I got recruited into property management. Most people do not grow up thinking I would like to be a property manager, right? In fact, for years, I wanted to be, well, a nurse and then a teacher. And then I wanted to be a therapist. So essentially, I kind of actually became all three in property management, right? I mean, and then maybe a little bit of a cop in there, detective. There's, because you just never know. I got recruited, got a phone call, said, hey, I'm looking for a property manager. I said, I have no idea even what that is really. At the time, I owned my own home. And said, yeah, come on in. Took the meeting because in my belief, you should always take the meeting, always be open to discussing whatever, because you never know where it may lead you. And I took the huge leap. I went from corporate. I was working at Gap at a flagship location down in Seattle area, and just took the leap from corporate, all your benefits, all your good stuff, and then just went 100% commission and went all in. And the rest is history for that.
So your leap from the retail work into property management involved going from like a salaried or a typical board wage position to commission only.
Yep.
Okay.
Commission only. And at that time I had my 8-month-old. At that time I was married to his father. And then I've since had 2 other kids once I was in property management. But yeah, I just figured, what could go wrong? I mean,
Right. So was this an invitation more to start and build your own business under a broker?
Kind of. So back then, and this was very popular because this was early 2000s. It was a portfolio style based. So I was a portfolio manager. So I did take over a small book of business. And then I quickly learned, okay, so the more I go out and talk to clients, the more I can sell contracts. Obviously, the higher rent, the better product. I'm going to make more money, do all that kind of thing. And I just built up my own book of business within that. Over the years, I became pretty well known in the area to work with local builders. So I had quite a few builder clients where they would keep homes from certain plats, and I would put them under my management. So I was very well versed in that whole world, because once you work with one, then they all kind of are like, oh, she's an expert. She knows what she's doing. She can help basically build out your rental portfolio.
That's so interesting. So you were learning property management at the same time you were really growing your first business. So even though it was a portfolio within a business, you had that responsibility. It sounds like you took to it. It sounds like it was pretty natural.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I mean, basically that entrepreneur mindset, and just kind of jumped in, and I didn't look back. I didn't go back to retail, and the rest is history.
Why start your PM company then in 2016? Like, what changed that made you want to kind of have it all under you?
Well, I got my designated broker's license in 2010. And so then during that year, I actually did open a real estate firm property management company for one of the builders that I had worked with for several years. And that was great. I obviously had full carte blanche. I could do whatever I want. I set up all the processes, the systems, did all the things. But I really wanted my own. I really had a very specific vision of what I wanted to create. And, to be quite frank, at that time I had 3 kids. I had finally gotten through my divorce. It was a horrible divorce, just very messy. I actually filed for bankruptcy in 2015. But at the same time in 2016, I was like, I have this specific vision. I know what I want. It's time. And so I went to the builder, and I said, hey, it's time for me to go out on my own. He said, oh, that's actually great, because he wanted to retire. He didn't really want employees anymore. And so I just took the leap and started from my living room, full-time single mom of 3, and again took kind of a huge pay cut and just hustled and did it.
If you're serious about buy and hold investing, you need tools, not hype. I'm PM Jen, and at holditwithpmjen.com, I've got the real stuff, a full step-by-step video series on how to evict a tenant in Pennsylvania, my best tips and tricks, and updates on where I'm speaking next. You'll also be able to download your free 2025 no bullshit playbook for buying and holding rentals in North Central PA. This is a 20-page playbook full of information about how to succeed in my market. It is candid and real and written by me. This is the stuff no one else will tell you, because I actually do this work every day, and I'm not shy about sharing what I know. So check it out at holditwithpmjen.com and follow me on all the socials. Let's buy and hold forever and ever. Amen. Well, what did you want to create that was so different? What was missing that you were able to create when it was yours?
Yeah. So I think the vision of approaching everything with care. So again, at the time, I wouldn't have been able to define it then, but I really wanted to take the feminine that I had in me. And again, at the time I was still really managing on my masculine, because that's just the world I was in. So now looking back, I would say I wanted to take some of that feminine and inject something into a business and make it beautiful. Because in property management, as you know, it can be so adversarial and people hate us and whatever, but I knew that I could make something to where people actually liked it, that our residents loved renting from us, our clients loved us, our vendors loved working with us, and our team loved it. And being a full-time single mom and having very busy kids, they were like grade school, middle school, I needed flexibility. And, of course, people will say when you're a business owner, it's flexible. That's because we work all the time, right? Until we get things set up. But still kind of being an employee of somebody else, it's not 100% flexible, and I needed that. And I saw what was kind of on the horizon. So at that time, you probably remember a lot of the prop tech stuff was popping up. And again, when you have something set up for somebody else, they're not necessarily open to what I'm seeing. And I just knew that it could be better. And I knew that in my market, I could make something beautiful and amazing. And that's what I did.
That is so cool. And so your story then and I think you've probably told it a couple of times, you scaled that company up and now you are still a young woman full of energy and, drive. And so what drove this move to the property management strategist? Was this something you were dreaming of before you sold the company? It came up after? How'd that work for you?
So I think, a lot of us that have been doing it forever, and if, especially kind of once you sell and you kind of technically get out of the day to day, I actually miss it. I love property management. But what I really love is actually helping others. I love being able to give tips and tricks. That was one thing that I actually enjoyed during acquisitions is that, we didn't buy every company we talked to. Sometimes I would go through the entire process. We would get all their information and it maybe just wasn't a match. And so I would actually use that as an opportunity to basically consult and say, hey, we went through everything here. Your net margin is XYZ. If in my recommendation, if you did these 3 things over the next 18 months, you could increase your revenue. And so that was really kind of a fun thing. And I guess I just thought, well, it'd be really cool to do that for my own business and really help other people, grow their business. Because the one thing that I don't think we're taught, and I think especially maybe even women business owners especially don't think of this, is your business is your biggest asset. I mean, we talk a ton about real estate, right? Like, buy the rentals. Like, that's how you grow wealth. That's how you grow wealth. But when you build a business, that actually is your biggest asset. And if you're not really like approaching it that way and you're not thinking of that way, you're kind of missing out on a huge opportunity. And so that, honestly, I'm just so excited to help people around the United States just kind of like shift their mindset just a little bit and look at it like, oh my gosh, you're right, Stacy. Like, yeah, my house is worth $700,000, but I could grow my business to be worth 2 million, 3 million, right? Whatever.
Right.
The ceiling there is no ceiling. And
sure. What a fundamental thing. I want to drill in on that a little bit. So what does it look like when a business owner doesn't view, and let's use property management as the example. So when a property management business owner doesn't view the management company as as their largest asset, and when they do, what are the differences? I'm really just quizzing myself to see what side of the fence I'm on here, because I do value it as my biggest asset. It is, however, something I look at one time a year when I do my personal financial statement.
Okay.
Or have to get a loan for a new property or something. At that point, otherwise I don't really think about the number I associate with this LLC.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wonder.
Yeah, so for sure, well, one, being aware, and two, and I see it all across the U.S. And I wouldn't even say, I would say even in the beginning, it was probably myself as well, is that you basically are creating a job for yourself. So you hear a lot of the gurus out there, right? They're like, oh, you've got to get out of the day to day. You've created a job for yourself. Get out of the day to day. But they're not really explaining why, right? And so that's kind of where I'm just taking it just a little bit around the corner of like, hey, you have created a job for yourself, and that's great. But if you really step back and look at it and say, okay, I've actually created this asset. How do I get out of my way, create maybe a couple more jobs for other people?
Yep.
And then you have the time and energy and to look at it and say, okay, I'm actually going to study my numbers every month. I'm going to look at my revenue. I'm actually going to take a look at, all the things. KPIs actually mean something because of the revenue I want to make or whatever. I mean, that's kind of how I would say is the biggest difference. And
I really align to that, Stacy. And the first thing I'll say is, like, as a person who has now kind of I've gone through that level where I do view it as an asset, as a business. I work on my business, not in my business for the most part. I mean, I'm not completely birthed out of there, but I'm almost done. I'll tell you, I wish the gurus, instead of kind of condemning us for working in the business, recognize it as a stage of growth. That as an entrepreneur, the first step is to create a job for yourself, to create the work, the whatever. And then that's part of an evolution, almost like a business puberty. It's one stage of business puberty where we change our mindset, we change our practices, our activities of daily living change, and we evolve and grow. And that is such a good reframe for me, because when I've talked about working in the business versus not, and when I've been on the other side of that equation where I wasn't meeting my goals and it felt bad. It felt like everybody else had figured this out. Now that I'm through it, I recognize it in others, and I feel like I try to be encouraging. Hey, I see where you're at. Totally normal. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you're nailing it. By the way, in order to keep nailing it and keeping it up, you're going to have to grow and change and evolve, and that's hard. But you get the opportunity to. Like, it's a mark of success to get to that point.
And I think the message, at least that what I perceived it to be, was a lot of like shame around it. It was almost more like, oh, you're kind of a loser because you're still working in your business. Well, actually, I just started it 24 months ago. So if you looked at where I started and where I've gotten, I've done an amazing job. So let's recognize that. And then, yes, as you continue to grow it, you're always going to continue and evolve it. For example, like right now, property management strategist, I'm in it. I mean, I'm in it. I'm working 6-7 days a week. I mean, I love what I do, but I'm pretty much the person. I write the copy. I do all the social media marketing. And, I do have a operations director, a VA, who does a lot of the back end operations stuff for me and some other stuff. But at the end of the day, I just started it, right? So how could, and that's okay, because I know where I am in the journey. And the cool thing is now I'm helping property management business owners who are kind of midway, who have reached that point of, oh my gosh, I have this business, it's profitable, I'm making money, but I'm working way too much. I don't have everything documented. I don't, I just need a little bit of help to like step out, observe, take a breath. Let's figure out how we can make your life peaceful and still profitable, and probably even more profitable. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's transition and talk about gender in investors. And you are an investor, right? You're also investing personally. So, and on your own now, because you've done it in different facets. So I'm doing this with my husband. I'm an investor. We've had lots of investors as clients. First of all, give me a representation in your management career. What proportion of your clients were female or female led? So if it was a couple, maybe, that you were dealing with her and not him.
1% maybe.
Wow.
Maybe.
Really small.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm at around 10%.
Are you really?
Yeah,
That's
and when
cool.
I go into rooms, not in my town, but around Pennsylvania, I'm casually counting, and I'm seeing about 20% of women in those rooms. And I'm counting every single woman I can see. I don't know who's there along with someone or vice versa. But yeah, that's so super underrepresented. And when I am in those rooms and meet women, like, so I was at an investor conference and that was much more like 30% women. And I was asking them, what are you into? What are you into?
Right.
They liked passive stuff. They like syndications, they like commercial, they like storage units, right? Anything that isn't high conflict or whatever. And and of course I'm standing there like, you're missing out on a bunch, man. We really need people to be doing this work. So we're seeing just very few women out there, it sounds like. Tell me about the women you did meet. Were they good investors? How did they behave when they invested?
I would say they were good. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I mean, I really didn't have a lot of female clients, to be honest, over the years.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was just my area.
So what metro were you managing in? that you're thinking about?
Not even really a metro, more counties. Like, I mean, pretty rural area. So, Snohomish County was kind of the bigger area. But I guess I was kind of close to Everett, Washington.
Got you.
But I mean,
So
I
you're
was
saying that northern part up close to
yeah,
Canada there.
Yep. So really, it was still pretty male dominated, I would say. But I would say the women investors I did work with, I mean, were always very like level-headed. There wasn't as much emotion generally.
Okay.
I mean, I had probably like some of my male investors actually get a little bit more,
Right.
more emotionally invested. And generally, when it was like husband wife, it was almost always the husband that I dealt with.
Exactly.
And that
I
was
very rarely will have a couple, a male female couple that I will be dealing with the female primarily. That's just not how they've decided to split the task. So I've got some observations. When I talk to women, they are calling me at the beginning of their process. So whether that's, oh shit, I'm inheriting dad's apartment building, or I'm considering doing this, I'm Googling everything like crazy. I haven't even gone out looking for a property yet, and I'm looking for a property manager, right? And my men, if they're going to call me, are generally calling me once they've owned it and tried to do this for a while themselves.
Yes.
They have this idea that this is very easy.
Yes.
This is something they should absolutely be able to do without experience or education. And I get it. Like, another thing I observe about when I meet men and their process, when they lose a ton of money and they can't figure it out on their own, so they can't figure out how to right the ship, or if he started investing young, I see them when the kids get old enough to do fun stuff. So he'll have these when he's single. He'll have these when he's dating his wife. He'll have these when he's a newlywed and when those kids are little and she's really pissed. She starts bitching, right? The at-home partner who, while he's painting that unit all weekend, there at night to meet people to rent it, the rent didn't come in. It maybe made for an irritable text conversation where he was a little upset on a Saturday afternoon. All of those things are making the home less comfortable. And I start to hear from the men then, but when they're motivated to do it is when the kids got a t-ball game, a dance recital, something fun. And and what happens is, as I always say, in the 2020s, men are parenting differently than when I was raised. And when I was raised, men were allowed to leave the home, and as long as it was loosely for the benefit of the family, it was fine. If dad had to go work in that rental unit every month, every weekend for a month, it was fine. And I don't see couples treating parenting like that now. They're very active and involved, and they want to be, but these young men struggle with the shame of, my dad didn't need this, my grandpa didn't need this, he did this while he raised us, or this. And they feel like they're taking the easy way out, that they're buying too much. That is something I've seen. Now, maybe in the North Pacific Northwest, it was a little less individualist. This is kind of rural Pennsylvania investors I'm talking about. Do you have any similarities or differences?
Yeah, no, I would say similarities. So I actually, like early on in my career, kind of got really well known for doing, being able to evict people really well. I had a really good process. And so I actually started to attract people who think they know what they're doing. They would put people in units. They wouldn't even do a good background. I mean, we're talking like had zero information. And it was almost like, I remember like actually meeting people in coffee shops and the shame on these guys' faces because they were like, oh my gosh, I'm a loser because, my father-in-law was able to do all this, but now look at me and I have this mess. And I was able to, I think, always make them feel like they were not a loser. And so I think that's why I kind of got that reputation of like, I'm not going to judge you. Like, here, let me just take a look at your challenge. Yep, that's a problem. Let me, give me some money and I'll take care of it for you and go on from there. And so I think over time, I kind of built a really good, solid reputation in my area as far as like being able to help people and not make them feel crappy.
Sure. Well, true moment of vulnerability here. It is a flaw in my personality that I do judge.
I'm not saying mean I didn't judge. I mean,
I
I did when I
struggle.
went home or in my car.
I struggle. I just had a good friend of mine who I've managed for him for years. This 2 unit that he has, I didn't manage for him because the tenant in the one side told him they would move if he got a professional property manager. Of course, they're paying a couple $100 under market rent. He's rented to them for a million years. He has a high degree of comfort. Anyway, the tenant in the other side didn't pay for 6 months. And then he came to me and I was like, bro, like we've broken bread. We've had drinks. We've like been hanging out on the river and you didn't tell me you weren't getting rent. Like you didn't tell me, this would make me crazy. And of course we just got it over with, just got her out. But of course it was a much worse problem than if he had dealt with it right in the very beginning. And I do need to work on that. I need to make people feel less shame because I think I'm contributing to the shame when I get so excited about it that I want to fix it. That's my whole thing. I just want to fix it. I just want to make it right for them. Well, one observation that I have is that I think women are a little bit more risk averse to getting into this. They sense a lot more risk and unpredictability, which they also feel unprepared to handle. Like when I talk to women, they go, I've read the books, I've listened to all the podcasts, I get it, but I'm still scared.
Right.
And honestly, I hear this from some men too. I actually have a call with a young man who says, I've been studying and it's time to, shit or get off the twig. And he's booked a call with me because I guess that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a reputation of motivating him off the twig. But I think it keeps women out. So they're going to find a different asset class. They're going to invest somewhere else. And that is, to me, if I can do my job better, I can build a sense of confidence in them where they get in because women will figure it out. They will solve the problem. Yeah. Do you think real estate needs women? Do you think this industry needs women to get in to change things?
Oh, 100%. So the interesting thing about that, and again, I don't have the hard stats in front of me, but when you look at real estate sales and property management, it's actually pretty high percentage. Those are women. So your real estate agent is a female. Percentage-wise, it goes over 50% compared to men, right? Yeah. And then same in property management. If you're a property manager, the predominantly more female. But when you get to the owner-broker stage, predominantly male. And same with investing, predominantly male. Because I just don't think that, we did, well, I mean, like, I never grew up with anybody really ever talking about, how to invest or anything like that. And I just don't think it's kind of like been the message. And then also, I mean, if you do decide to have children or whatever, I mean, it's also really hard to be all the things for everybody.
Yes.
You're going to have to give up some other things. So I don't know. But yeah, no, we definitely need more women for sure. In fact, I was doing a project last night. I'm working on creating a list of, kind of shoulder businesses that I can reach out to, that I can like do some cross promotion with, provide some resources and, they provide some to my audience, that kind of thing. And here I am, I'm doing the spreadsheet, I'm using AI, to kind of do the thing, and then Google. And I think on that list out of the top 50 companies that I just put on there, or people, I think 3 were women. And so we're talking about, I was looking at, different podcasters, different coaches, and this was all kind of under the real estate sector. And I think that is probably pretty accurate. There's just not enough in that realm, if you will.
Right. And so I'm just so caught up in this because I think some of it has to do with coded language. And I feel like I've cracked the code, right? Like I went to business school. I learned how to talk like our friend Jordan Muela, our wonderful friend Jordan, and that awesome, loquacious way he speaks. I love it. I find it very much matches his personality.
Most of the words that he says, I'm like, I have no idea what that even means.
And this is not what his intent is. But when sometimes men, I was just listening to a man on a Bigger Pockets podcast, and he was using all the coded finance language. He was talking about equities. He was talking about deltas. He was talking about volatility, right? Which are just synonyms for other words that, for risk and for all the other things. And I find when that language is being thrown around, the women drop out. They drop out of the conversation. They're not in the room. They're not at the conference. And that is that broker owner level, right?
Yep.
That broker owner level. Even
Yep.
NARPM said, oh, we have to have a whole special conference for broker owners because we want to talk about it separately, differently at that level. You're right. Women have a large representation in our industry in the service provider roles.
Yes. Yes. And so that's really interesting you brought that up because when I owned my brokerage, when I finally launched Leading Edge and I owned it, I actually had a lot of vulnerability around all the things. Not necessarily the processes. Processes I've got down. But around the numbers and like the words and what they meant, because I would go to those conferences, right? I would go to the owner broker conference and it was mostly dudes. And I'm good friends with most of them. They're awesome people, but they would just throw around words like da 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 and all the things. And I'm like, I have no idea even what that means. But I didn't feel comfortable saying that because I felt like, oh, well, I'm already like not even represented here. I mean, I'm one of, 1 out of 50 or whatever it was, right? Women. And I don't even know what you're talking about. So I would write things down and then I'd go back, to my room and like look it up because I didn't know. But I didn't feel comfortable saying that. And I would say even in our vendor space, a lot of the vendors are men. And again, nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of that comfortability of being able to approach somebody and not feel like they're going to judge you. Like I've had some conversations recently with some other women business owners who I don't know if they would have said the same thing to a male coach. I don't know that they would have said, I don't even know how much money my company's making.
Right.
I hope that, I think they felt comfortable telling me that because I wasn't going to judge them. I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, that's a great starting point. Like, we'll start with that.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think back to when I was having a similar experience as you. Maybe I was in a room and I wasn't understanding what they were saying. And because I have this advanced degree, I do have an MBA from Penn State and I love it. It was always my dream to get, but I'm overeducated for this industry. But it did make me a little bit fearless to go, if I don't understand what you're saying, it's because you're talking too fast, you're using the wrong words, or I just need you to connect a dot, right? And I've always had no fear about just raising my hand and saying, I wasn't following. You're going to have to say that again. What do you mean? What does LOI mean? Right? That video, what does LOI mean from the back of the crowd? Letter of intent, right? Something like that. That feeling though, I just had lunch with a gal today. She's a client. She wants to grow her portfolio. And I was running, I've stopped for the rest of this year, these real estate investor meetups. And she says, oh, I know. I keep thinking I should come to them, but I wasn't ready to make a move yet. So I didn't want to be in the room. And then like everybody, and like, nobody would know a thing. I'm sorry if I've portrayed it as some sort of like we check your bank statement on the way in kind of thing, but we certainly don't. But she did not want to be in that room if she wasn't bringing value. She didn't want to be a loser in that room. And I get that. And I wish I could like tell all the women like everybody else is faking it. Everybody else is faking it. They're faking it.
They are. And yes, when I started doing acquisitions, I was like, oh, not everybody. Like it's just, what's out there. And, I think the internet, of course, has made it to where, anyone can say whatever they want. I mean, no one's going to be able to go back and fact check them.
Sure.
Right?
So you're now consulting for property management business owners, and you've already said most of those are male, but you are getting some female clients. How are they different in terms of being a client of yours and the working experience? I understand they might present their problems differently and whatnot, but the working experience with them, how's that looking different?
I don't know that it's that different. I think because of the way that I've worked on my marketing and my self development, I would say that the guys that I'm working with, I mean, they're not women, but
sure,
they're all kind of
but they're attracted to your feminine method, maybe.
Right, my style. So I would say that, I'm, I guess, lucky in a sense of like, I'm at a place in my life where I can really be myself and work with who I want to work with. Because when I opened my business, I mean, well, way back in the day when I was portfolio manager, I worked with a lot of jerks because I needed the money. And then when I opened my company, I worked with jerks because, I needed to build my company, right? And now it's like, no, no, you know, no, I don't
How
want to do that.
nice.
So I think I'm actually pretty lucky. Like I haven't had anybody show up really that different. Um, if anything, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, just being able to have work with people who are super open-minded and look at my experience to say, oh yeah, I love how you did that. Like, teach me how to do that.
What a great experience that your real estate investments, your investment in your businesses has translated into this empowerment, this
Yes.
freedom. Because you're describing freedom. You're describing I'm choosing where to use my labor and how, at what rate, and for whom.
Right.
And it's fun for you. And
It is.
you're living like the real vision here. I'm calling it the income continuum between active and passive income because retirement is broken. You're not going to work a W-2 job every single day until you're 65 and then stop. You are on a spectrum here where your labor is going to be allocated only at the highest and best use, stuff you enjoy, leads to your mission, and has to satisfy you financially, but there's less pressure on it because of all the other investment that you have that's
Yes.
bolstering you.
Yeah.
How amazing for you to be able to do that and the freedom that creates for you in your relationships and the example you're giving your children. And by the way, all the women and men that you're working with and showing them that this is possible.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing. So now you're on this mission to help business owners with their business. Tell me what, we talked about, leading from a place that's true to you, about having a business that works for you. What does that look like? And what are you actually injecting into this? If I'm a PM owner, just like you said, overworked, want to grow, can't figure it out, made myself a really big job here, a prison I can't escape. What do you put in to free me? You know what's better than building generational wealth? Not a damn thing. And obviously, the best way to do that is through buy and hold real estate. But managing your properties yourself, that's a one-way ticket to burnout. This is supposed to be an investment, not a burden. At One Focus Property Management, we don't just manage your rentals. We make buy and hold investment really work. First, get on over to onefocuspm.com. You'll get an inside look at our proven process, plus a ton of free resources for local investors. Then reach out to us so we can build a custom stabilization plan just for your property. We're the biggest, baddest property management team in Lycoming, Clinton, Northumberland, Montour, and Columbia counties. And we're here to give you more protection, less work, and no drama. That's onefocuspm.com.
Well, I mean, I guess my core message is I teach, property management business owners how to create a peaceful and profitable business. So with that, I mean, I have some methods. One will, take a look at your business. We'll take a look at, who's helping, who's hurting, and then, take a look at what you're doing, and that's you're also within the who's helping, who's hurting, and then then we'll just take a look at the structure and basically like restructure it. I don't necessarily want to use the word restructure because that could come across as like we're going to change everything, which is usually not it. But usually most of the time, the answers are really easier than I think people think they're going to be.
Sure.
But it's kind of like I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and we're all guilty of it, right? So like I'm even guilty of it in my new business. I'm in my business. I'm
Sure.
in the forest, that analogy, right? I'm in the middle of it, and da 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 da. And that's why I have a coach, because my coach is able to say, hey, I see that you're doing this. Have you thought about this or that or whatever it is? And that's basically how I approach it as well, is that you know what you're doing. Obviously, you're successful. You're making money. You have a team. You're a good human. You're probably giving back to your community, all the things. Like, you're doing a great job. But whatever personal goal it is you want for yourself, like, I don't care. I mean, even if you want to keep working in your business, there's also no shame in that. I think that that's one thing that people, they have this weird thing where they're like, you got to build this business and get out, get out, get out. Well, maybe you want to kind of still be in it day to day.
Yeah.
That's okay too. Whatever goal it is you want to achieve, then let's take a look at it and figure it out together.
Yeah. I definitely resonate with having a different idea of a goal of what I want my business to be. I've never resonated with this is how much money I'm making or this is how many vacations I'm making. And that, believe me, I like money, I like vacations, I like all those things, but I've always much more thought about impact. It's always been so much more about that for me, but I have the luxury of I'm not struggling to feed myself or, things would be different if I have a different set of parameters. And so I think though there needs to be room for us to have those different goals, right? Because in those conferences you and I have been to together, that's not a popular view to stand up and say, I want 2 hours in my garden every morning. I want to be in my business every day. I want this much in revenue and I want this kind of a lifestyle, right? Which it sounds like to me, you're really helping business owners get to that end state. Whatever they paint that picture as, let's design what it takes to get there. Yeah. We need to have more women out there talking about how it's okay to have different visions, how
Absolutely.
the different ideas of how this works.
Yeah, and it's going to change with every season of your life. I turned 50 this year. I have I have 3 kids. The last one, she's entering her senior year of high school. I mean, my mantra, so when I turned 50 was, so I said, for that next season between 50 and 60, my mantra in life is to create a lifestyle where I can, chase the sunshine and be present for my family. So whatever that looks like for me, I think a lot of times people, when I talk to other people, they're like, oh, so are you like moving like as soon as your daughter graduates? I'm like, well, no, not necessarily. I mean, I love our summers, but I just want to create a lifestyle where I have the freedom to choose whatever I want to do. I will probably always work in some form or fashion because one, I talk way too much. I would drive my husband insane if it was just me and him. And two, I love what I do. I love helping other people. I love talking business. I love talking strategy. I mean, I could talk about it all day long. So it's not, I don't know, but I guess for me, yes, I'm kind of privileged in the fact I've kind of grown up to where I want to be. I mean, there were, other seasons of my life where I had different goals because that's where I was in my life, and that's also okay. And, when you're also in your 20s and 30s and you're building your career and you're doing your thing, like, you're probably where you should be. I mean, that's,
We're really fascinated on getting places fast.
We are. We are. Yeah, and I think I've really, I don't know what it is, but turning 50, it's been really weird. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm actually already here. Because for the last 10 years, I'm like, oh, I'll have the freedom, and I don't know, maybe it's because I was a single mom forever and ever. And, it's a lot of work raising 3 kids alone and running.
I mean, you're punching out. Yeah, you have a little bit of senioritis. I think that's fair. You know, I think you and the kid probably both have a little dash of senioritis.
Oh, yeah, we do. We do, yeah. So it's, but also part of me is also a little bit sad because I'm like, oh my gosh, that just went so fast. Like my 21-year-old's on vacation in Europe having fun, and my 19-year-old's off doing wildland firefighting, having a real job, training to be an incident commander, and I'm like, and then we're doing senior photos for the daughter this weekend. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's so crazy. And, so it's kind of fun and exciting at the same time.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about how your business goals aligned and were synergistic to your family goals. Mm-hmm. So often we hear about family being a hindrance, particularly children being a hindrance to these business goals. And I think that's a way you could frame your story. You could absolutely frame it. But what I hear you say is, this is what I needed. This is what I had. This is what I chose to do in that season. And this is how this season's going to look different when I have different resources. I would love it if we would break a gender divide on there and allow women to talk more honestly about how these at-home responsibilities need to be accounted for. And by the way, I don't know that it's our bosses' jobs. I don't know if it's like bosses' jobs to do that. I can't say all that, but I would say I'd love to have more role models in that. And I'd love men to feel like they could talk about the same thing, because I think they probably feel similarly restricted in how they talk about what's pulling on them.
Yeah, I would say for several years I actually hid. Oh, I obviously didn't hide the fact I had kids, but I did not talk about it in the business world necessarily,
Wow.
because I didn't feel like I would be taken as serious, or I didn't like if I was up against, like, let's say there's a guy, who's a property manager for another company, and then there's me. I felt like a lot of times I wouldn't be chosen because I was the mom. So I really actually kind of painted pictures of, I'm a, strong woman and da da da. Like I just didn't, I mean, obviously people knew I had kids, but I never really ever
I think that's a very truthful thing to say. And I'm sure it doesn't, feel good to say that I wasn't as talking about the children all the time. You're of course very proud of them. A little thing I've done, a little rule I've had, I don't have children, so I've never had to balance that. That has been a real gimme with that whole thing. But I made the rule early on, and I must have observed a woman in a workplace. I said, I might bring food into the office, like for a potluck or something. I'll never cook it. I'll never say, oh, I made a banana bread last night and brought in half the banana bread. Give that to my neighbor, throw that into a hole. They don't get cooking from me. What a weird rule, but it was a rule I made, and it was something I've told a lot of women. I go, if you plan on being the manager of a team, don't be the one who makes the cookies. It's a hard line to cross those both, to be the boss and the cookie maker.
So looking back, what we were doing was taking our feminine and shoving it down. We were hiding it because we learned early on that in order to be successful in the business world, we had to show up with our masculine. I mean, even the way I'm like sitting up now, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I'm showing up with my, I had to show up with my masculine more, and I led with my masculine for years and years and years. And, it served me well. I got where I wanted. I worked with primarily dudes. I mean, I could command a room, all the things. So I would say the last few years, I've really worked hard on harnessing my feminine, like bringing it back and telling myself it's okay. I will build a business using more of my feminine. I will attract the right clients. And actually, my feminine powers, in business probably can take me further than pretending that I don't have them. So
right. Yeah, masking and playing a role. We've gotten very good at it. This term you use, embracing your feminine. What does that practically look like in a business scenario? What would be different about embracing your feminine versus embracing the masculine?
I would say being more vulnerable. So like in my copy that I write, so like I send out 2 emails a week. I send out, actually on Tuesdays, I send Stacy's Vibe emails. And they're not, I don't like sell from them. It's really just I'm kind of sharing a story, and I tie it back to, hopefully the reader, and they'll kind of see, something in it, and hopefully they'll learn something from it. And then kind of the same thing on like my Friday newsletter emails. I'm a lot more vulnerable. Like I share, things that didn't work well, or, what I did to fix that, or whatever the case may be. That, and then just kind of silly things like when I created my logo, I was working with a person, and, it was a nice looking logo. And I was like, it's kind of like boring. So I messaged and I said, what about if we like put some Barbie pink in there? Like, I love Barbie pink. I love pink. I'm wearing pink today. Sure. Like, it's okay. Like, and that's just kind of silly. But I think just, also not leading from, just that kind of like dominant place. Like I don't need to lead like that.
I sit and think, because I've read your letters, your content, and I'm thinking about, okay, how is that different from maybe how I've written that sort of content or how I've seen other people? And when you share it that way, I do see the differences, particularly the shares, the vulnerable shares. I was on vacation last week, and there's two women who run Women in Real Estate networking group. It's a coaching program, Amelia and Grace, and they wrote a book with Bigger Pockets about being self-managing landlords. And what was so interesting about their book was they shared a lot of stories from women who've done this, and they were so vulnerable. I didn't do this. I didn't follow my process. I was naive, right? And really taking accountability, not blaming others and I was like, wow, this is really illuminating to look at, because this is how we talk about it here in our business. We talk about when we've had an eviction, where did we mess up?
Yep.
Did we approve that tenant, incorrectly? Did our processes fail us? What happened here? Because when you evict a tenant, that's a failure on the property manager's part too. Hopefully we didn't set them up to fail. Hopefully it was just one of those things. So I really like that. And I did a little review. It's going to be coming out on YouTube. But that was one of the things I pointed out, that I think because this was written by women they're not talking about just sharing with women, but they're certainly having a very female focus. I think women respond to that. I think women know instinctually when they see the bravado, they see the posturing, the nothing ever goes wrong, the all of that. When they're younger, they kind of go, something feels wrong and off about this. I'm alienated by it. When you get as old as us, you just start saying things like, you're lying to me. When I have a landlord who says, I've had properties for 30 years and I've never had an eviction, I go, first of all, you should have.
Right.
If you're literally being truthful with me right now, you should have. I would like to audit your books. I would love to audit your books about how you got every rent payment for 50 years. Please tell me all of it, because you're lying. I actually have been, and like you, we've been around the block enough to know you're full of shit.
Yep.
And I'm sick of young investors or not even young, but like inexperienced investors seeing that sort of bravado and going, well, wait a minute, I don't get it. I must be too dumb. I gotta hold up, because I'm not understanding the full of shit nonsense that guy's talking about. And somebody just needs to we need to do that with all kinds of news in our country, what's full of shit and what's not. But we need to start teaching women, let's look at who you're paying attention to. And let's look at what their goals are. What are they selling?
Right. What are they selling? And I have the bullshit meter. Come on now. You cannot tell me that everything in your business has been perfect. I guarantee you. Come on now.
Do you find that? Do you find that in when you're working, maybe in your acquisitions role and now in this role, do you find that you have to kind of break through a layer of bravado or posturing to get to the real truth?
Not now. No. Because I think people now, they contact me.
They're coming to you for help.
Yeah, they're coming to me for help. And they can probably tell that I'm, real and not going to judge them. I would say, so when I did acquisitions, a little bit here and there. Sometimes I'd encounter people that, insisted that their company would be worth way more because of whatever. I usually, though, if they were like that, it wouldn't go very far, to be honest, because they knew the truth and then they just wouldn't show their cards.
Yeah, they would stop participating.
Yeah, so it was kind of more that. Really the people that actually did kind of go through the entire process, I would say, were pretty good, real people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. It's interesting. I find as the intake person kind of here with the new clients, that generally speaking, I am, for most of my male clients, just getting through a little bravado. They claim that, everything's going fine. But I said, so everything's going fine. The rent is coming in. It's not giving you any stress. You just had to talk to me today. And that usually puts them on their hiney a little bit, but they're not used to calling somebody and saying, I'm not doing this well. They come to it, as this is just not a good use of my time. I need to be using my time on other things. That's always their position, when in truth, they're not doing the tasks at all.
Or they think that they're giving you a gift by letting you actually manage their rental.
And my lady clients are overly dependent on the manager. They are overly reliant on them feeling like they are not capable of doing any of it. And so if you've got two ends of the spectrum there, we're like overconfident and underconfident. Generally speaking, I throw the genders on their assigned ends, and I'm striving to just have y'all be in the middle. I
Right.
just want to kind of knock you fellas down a couple pegs, make you like look before you leap for like a second. And ladies, I want to kick you in the hiney. I want to find the ones of you who are really attracted and into this. And unfortunately, the constructs of the patriarchy and the available models to you have not bolstered your confidence enough, not through a lack of your own work. That would be something I think about. So you and I are doing something very similar this year. We're getting really visible. We're putting ourselves out there. I know we're brushing our hair. We're showing up on
I know,
Zooms
I know.
every day. We're putting videos of ourselves out there. We're putting our thoughts, our stories, our mistakes. I'd love to just hear from you. How has that experience been for you?
Actually, really fun. I kind of love it. So the funny thing is I have a lot of local people follow me, but they don't engage in my content. But I'll go somewhere. I'll go to a Rotary meeting, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love all your videos and all the things you're doing."
Yeah.
And they're not even my client. I mean, they're not even like my ideal client, but I always think that's really cute. They're very supportive. I've had a lot of fun. I think it's a really cool way to, get out there and hopefully reach people. And I have reached people. I've had people engage and, get added to my email list and hopefully learn some things. I've done a lot of free webinars, and I'm going to start those back up again in September. And that's been a lot of fun, just to kind of offer like education out there. And I've really enjoyed it. I mean, I wasn't super freaked out. I mean, I will say, like, if you look at my like beginning videos, like my talking head, they're definitely more cringe.
Yeah.
That's my kid's word. And I think now they're better. And I'm really working hard to like create content that people, resonate with.
Sure.
And follow the trends and all that kind of good stuff. That's been kind of fun.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy marketing, to be honest.
Yeah.
What
I'm
about you?
enjoying it. I'm enjoying it too. I like the creativity in it. And I love connecting with people. So the ability to use that putting myself out there means that people are saying, "Hey, I'm into this. Let's chat." Or maybe I have enough credibility now to get my email answered by a person I want to talk to. I really like that. Figuring out how to balance it all, right? Because it's not all online videos and webinars and podcasts. It's like I'm getting in the car and driving to rooms with 20 people, 30 people, a lot like you do, doing that. I'm struggling a little bit because I am a natural speaker. I have like all these things I talk about, but getting really purposeful in what I'm talking about has been like, I need to evolve in that and grow. And we're in a group together where we're kind of working on some of that stuff, real estate people trying to learn how to be thought leaders and content creators but you know what? That's super authentic. And in this age of AI coming out, and I see people in our industry, we're not freaking out. Now, my software guys, I've got software guys calling me up going, "I won't have a job in 3 years. I need to turn my 401k into cash flow." Like literally they're saying this. Now,
And
advisability.
marketing's another huge one that's getting hit hard.
And they're getting hit. In our world, it's going to become like service businesses like us. It's going to come from our human authenticity. And yes, we're going to do aspects of our business with AI, just like we've done it with computer programs for years and years and years. But the business, the culture, the people that are running it, we're going to have to start representing that more and more. And in the property management world, I can't have a website that has stock photography that doesn't look like my geography of people who aren't my people. No more. And I made that rule a year ago. I said on my website, it will be of us. If it's a person, it will be of our properties, our office, our streets. When you're on my website, it's very clear you're looking at a North Central Pennsylvania property manager. You know how we look, you know how our vehicles look. Why should I use stock photography? I've got a whole city here. And that, though, makes a difference in the AI world. Do you see something happening like does this help you in the AI world? Because, honestly, a nudnik with no experience could start posturing like a really impressive consultant with some AI. I mean, I don't think they're going to be useful, but does some of this help counter that for you?
You mean as far as like if Like for consulting, like
Yeah, like showing yourself as a full and whole person out in the marketplace.
yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, certainly you can get on AI. I mean, I use AI every single day. My favorites are Claude and Chat. Those are my two faves.
Nice.
Um, you know, and I've even used Chat like for personal questions and, you know, kind of therapy here and there.
Yeah,
But so
sure.
yeah, could you get on AI and get, you know, different, I guess like you could have a consultant, but at the same time, it's still not the same. I mean,
It's not. But that my point being though, how important a platform with Stacy as her real
right.
being,
Yep.
all of her value and
Yep.
authenticity is there. And yes, I might get her vibe email and it might have AI might have played a role in it. But her competitor who doesn't have what she has, isn't
Right.
showing up fully authentically. It's my argument that small business people need to embrace video. I'm doing a presentation at
Oh,
NARPM this fall
100%.
about being the face of your market and about how I've really gone all in on video. And it wasn't something I thought about when I did it. But as AI is advancing, having this trove of just, even if it's awkward, weird, and cringe, to use your daughter's word, you know, even if it's cringe, it's freaking real. And
Yeah.
the people watching it know it's real and I'm a real person and they hopefully will know, like, and trust
Yeah,
me,
yep.
you,
So
us.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
watch, so if people watch my content, so I do have, you know, talking head videos. I kind of segue to like B-roll videos because I kind of like them and I like to play around with them. My B-roll, I mean, now my family knows, like anywhere we go, they're like, okay, where do you want me to shoot? Like they, like, oh, you want to, okay, like my daughter and I took the dogs for a walk and I'm like, okay, we'll take a video of me like walking. I'm like, go run ahead. And
Yep.
then, you know, and that's just the thing. So my B-roll, like, let's see, I have one I put out this week. I was making salad in the background. It's real. I mean, legit, like wearing a sweatshirt and shorts, real life. And then, oh, driving our tractor. That one actually has had pretty good views, I think, because I'm
Good.
driving the tractor. So, yeah. So for that, yeah, you definitely, whatever kind of business you own, it doesn't matter if it's property management, consulting, whatever, you have to make sure that you are out there and your face is out there, that you are working on a personal brand. I'm a firm
Right.
believer in that, especially,
Sure.
yeah.
So let's give some advice to our target customer. So if I'm a female, we're going to make her female just because that is kind of like the avatar maybe. And I own a property management business and I'm drowning, right? I'm working a lot of hours. This isn't giving me financially quite what I want, but I believe in it, right? And I do want to do it, but I'm tired. What would you say to her about taking the next step and what she needs to hear right now? Inspire her.
Inspire her. Well, you know, so if I was sitting down, you know, like having coffee with somebody and I'd say, here's what, you know, here I have a 3-step process basically. Like, let's take a moment, take a breath. You've built an amazing thing. First of all, give yourself grace and gratitude. And then let's take a look. Let's make a list of everything that you're doing. So grab a notebook, start the list, and then go back, star everything that drains you out of that list. Right? So put a little asterisk next to it, whether you use it on your phone, make the list however you want, paper, pen, phone, notes. And then let's get together and then we'll create a plan
That's
and
awesome.
go
And
through
you'll
that.
walk that path with them then.
Yep. Yeah, I have a couple different programs. So, yeah, I have a cohort coaching program. So, basically, a group coaching that I'm launching in October. It's going to be really fun. So, it's basically.
And that's for property management business owners?
Yep, property
Okay.
management business owners. And you'll get put into a community with each other. We meet on calls twice a month. So, like a, you know, Zoom type call. And then I will be offering office hours every week. So there'll be 2 days a week where I'm available as well to kind of work through some challenges. And so the community and then some other fun things. So
Well, you're way ahead of me with these offerings. So you have actual tangible offerings at, wait, I don't want to say it wrong, Property Management Strategist. Is that propertyManagementStrategist.com?
so actually just my name, StacySalier.com.
Stacy, that's how I find it. I just put your name in and it comes up. So I would definitely check that out. If you're a property management entrepreneur, Stacy's offering quite a few different options, right? Like levels you can participate in depending on what your needs are and your comfort level is. I'm going to do the same thing here and talk to some ladies that I'm picturing in my head. These are ladies who, the first question I would ask them is, what's your goal? But I know what their goal is. Their goal is to secure their financial future and to have the same kind of freedom you've experienced, Stacy, to grow something that means they don't have to work for a bad boss. They don't have to, like, if something happened with their family, they would have a little leeway to withstand it. And they're nervous, right? So their biggest fear is, I'm going to get into this and screw this up. And I think the best motivational thing I could say to them is, you're absolutely not. Just by the fact that you're taking the time to think about it and work it out before you're in that position means you're committed to solving the problem. And too often what I see with investors, the behavior is we look before we leap. We don't entertain the risk. Therefore, we're not prepared. And unfortunately, this hurts tenants. This hurts residents living in homes, right? This is where the slumlord reputation comes from. Some of it is truly schemy, greedy people who don't care about other people. And some of it is unprepared investors who just simply don't know what to do. They don't know what to do, and they're freezing. And so I would say to these women, you're very well prepared. You are doing the right things, and you need to know when you're in that situation, you're going to solve it. And I'm here with you. Like you, I'm going to be here with you at least as long as I'm your property manager. And I'm working on ways I can be with you ladies to not be your property manager. We'll see what we can come up with to help support and grow this, because it's not my opinion that we actually need like special courses and things for women. We need models. Women are smart. They're not confused about how the math works or anything like that.
No.
They just need to believe it's possible by seeing examples. And that's kind of what I'm most committed to right now. Well, we know how to reach you, Stacy. We're going to go to 𝐶𝐶_Salier.com. We're going to follow you on socials. You are posting and you're putting out great content. And ladies, I'd encourage you, even if you're not a property management entrepreneur, if you want to see somebody who is modeling what freedom living is about and using real estate and entrepreneurship as a way to go there, you want to be following Stacy. And listen, if you like this kind of information about the real stories about how people are holding real estate for years and years and years so they get the full benefit of this and get that freedom, well, you want to follow Hold It with PM Jen on all the socials. These podcasts are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Listen, write me an email. I'm just a girl with an email box. I'm not some fancy person. You can just call me or email me and I'll read it and write you back, probably really fast. So listen, thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you, Stacy, and thank you again for joining us. And as our sisters Wilson Phillips say, we're going to hold on for one more day. Promise me. All right, pinky swear. Love you guys. Goodbye. Oh my God, you guys are going to love this. Listen up. I remember when I had that first leasing job and I was 22. I was so inexperienced and I didn't have a property manager. For a long story, there just wasn't a property manager. I was kind of alone in this office and it was garden style apartments. And there was a mother and like, I want to say like an 8 or 9-year-old daughter who lived on the first floor. And I don't even remember if the tenant on the second floor was a man or a woman. I don't think it was a couple. It was just a single person. And the woman on the first floor came in to me and goes, I really need your help. And I'm sitting here so earnest, like, then I am going to help you. Like, you have come to the right place. I have a undergraduate marketing degree from Indiana University of Pennsylvania and 1 month of experience in real estate, and we are going to solve this. And she tells me that her upstairs neighbor has always been a little vocal in the bedroom at night. And lately apparently has amped up this behavior and the vocabulary has gotten extra clear and, loquacious. And now her 9-year-old has to sleep in the living room because the bedrooms line up in this house. So like the kid could hear, and because the kids started repeating the words she was hearing.
Oh.
Right. This is not a case of like, I'm a prude and they're rocking the bed too much. And I heard this and I was like, it's kind of like when I got called about the ghosts, like,
what do I do?
This is going to be we're going to have to go back to the text. Like, right. And I wrote a letter that I posted on the door. I realize now how this letter had to have come across, but I wrote a letter, probably in Claris Works, and I referred to it as the nighttime noises. A whole, about the nighttime noises, and the young daughter is repeating words, and it did solve the problem, but I definitely hit that nail a little hard for that, Jenny.
Yes.
Or no, maybe you remember.
It was a sex on the balcony.
The balcony.
Yes.
Tell that story.
Yes.
Yes.
We had duplex again, top bottom, downstairs neighbor calling, like my neighbor having sex on her balcony all the time, and it's loud, and like I have to say something about it.
She was a brand new tenant, freshly divorced, like
she's sex on the
moving in
balcony.
on her own.
So we had to call. I'm like, oh, Carol, you know what? Your neighbors are complaining. I said, your neighbors are complaining. You're having sex. I said,
You're banging on the balcony,
There's
girl.
Sex in the balcony.
That's one
like, oh, I'm
thing
so
about-
sorry. It was my birthday. I was living my best life. I promise it won't happen again. And it didn't. But you have to make those odd, hard phone calls.
She had to sow those oats on the balcony.
Yep.
She does not
Yep.
fear an awkward phone call. She'll call anyone and tell them anything that you need her to.
I will.
Hey, it's PM Jen. That stands for Property Manager Jen. And if you're in this game to build real wealth that gives your family options, freedom, and security, you're in the right place. I specialize in the hold part of the buy and hold strategy. With over 22 years of experience managing portfolios of 300 to 700 doors, I've seen it all, and I'm not here to sugarcoat it. See, holding real estate is powerful, but it's also gritty, complicated, and full of surprises. And that's why I created Hold It with PM Jen, to give you the real stories, the real advice, and the real strategy you need to hold strong for the next 30, 40, even 50 years. So follow me at Hold It with PM Jen on socials, and let's never sell, okay?